Every investor dreams of being able to replace their paycheck with the income from their investment portfolio. And while this may seem far-fetched, there are avenues to achieving this goal of complete financial freedom and stability. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about one of my favorite subsectors of the REIT industry, which is monthly dividend paying REITs. For me, getting this dividend paid out to me each month is incredibly satisfying, and I look forward to it every month. Generally, I reinvest my profits from dividends right back into the company they came from, as nearly every position I own is considered a blue chip or high quality real estate investment trust. Today, I want to discuss Realty Income, one of the most steady and reliable players in the entire REIT industry. Realty Income, ticker symbol O, is a triple net lease REIT. This means that the tenants are responsible not only for paying rent, but for covering all other bills associated with the property. From plumbing to electrical, tenants cover every single expense. O specializes in retail properties, which makes up 82% of its portfolio. Industrial is also a sizable percentage, coming in at around 18.3%. Realty Income is incredibly geographically diverse, with properties in all 50 states and even some European countries. They also have an industry-leading 99% occupancy rate, which means an incredibly reliable and steady stream of rental income, which is redistributed to investors like us. They have a weighted average lease term of 9.4 years, which means across all 12,000 of their properties, they have nearly 9.5 years until their lease is up. Again, this shows that Realty Income has an exceptionally reliable tenant base who is going to be paying them over a long-term time horizon. Realty Income has a fantastic credit rating, coming in at an A-. They have a long-term debt-to-capital ratio of 41%, which means they're well capitalized to ensure they won't have any trouble paying off their debts. 90% of their debt is fixed rate, so even if interest rates continue to rise, they will be in good shape. 95% of their debt is also unsecured, so even if some of their commercial properties begin to fall in value, they won't be at high risk of default like some of the other companies in the REIT sector. The company's debt has a weighted average term to maturity of 6.8 years, meaning they have few obligations in the near term and should be able to refinance their limited amount of adjustable rate debt in the coming years. My personal favorite part about Realty Income is that they have increased their monthly dividend for 29 consecutive years. For those of you counting, that's over 348 months of dividend hikes. Since 1994, they've had a 4.4% compound annual dividend growth rate. This may not seem like much, but over the long term, this is steady and reliable growth that is incredibly hard to come by and is a great hedge against inflation and bad economic times that are sure to come in the future. Realty Income has had an average annual AFFO growth rate of 6.16% since 2013. AFFO is a commonly used metric to describe the adjusted funds from operations growth of a company. The adjustment is essentially a deduction of the capital improvement or capital expenditure spending on the properties that a REIT owns, and the funds from operations describes the rental income derived from the properties in a company's portfolio. The current dividend yield sits at 5.09%, which is not anything exceptional compared to some of the more risky and high-yielding mortgage REITs out there. However, considering how safe a bet Realty Income is due to their high occupancy, geographic diversification, and incredible balance sheet, I think this yield is very fair. The yield is also well covered with an AFFO payout ratio of 75.69%. The payout ratio describes the dividends paid out divided by the adjusted funds from operations, which I just described before. It basically tells us that the dividend being paid has some cushion compared to the funds generated from the properties Realty Income owns, a 24.31% cushion to be exact. Not to mention, Realty Income has $3.1 billion in liquidity in case anything drastic were to happen. Finally, the stock is currently trading at a price to average funds from operations multiple of 15.2x, which is pretty low compared to their normal AFFO multiple of 18 times. This implies that the share price should appreciate over the coming years as inflation begins to cool and the Fed starts to cut rates, hopefully. All in all, I am as bullish as ever on Realty Income, as their fundamentals are just about as sound as any other company on the face of the planet. And considering the reliable and well-covered dividend yield, their fortress of a balance sheet, and the possibility of future price appreciation, I think this stock is an absolute no-brainer pick that every income-oriented investor like myself should open a position in. Thank you guys for listening. I hope this information was valuable and provided you guys some insight. Have a good day.